Welcome to Leave No Taste. Today, we're going to touch on a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and that is barbecue. Now, barbecue inspires a lot of passion from a lot of people. There are arguments and debates about what really is barbecue, what isn't barbecue, what region has the best barbecue, what region doesn't. I'm not here to settle any of those arguments because at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is technique. And if you learn how to barbecue and learn how to work a smoker, then you can smoke and barbecue any type of meat from almost any kind of animal as well. Today, I have a couple chunks of boneless pork sirloin, which is not a cut that you're normally going to find at any of your favorite barbecue restaurants. My wife and I get a half a pig each year from farm to market pork right down the road here. And I make it a point to use every bit of the animal as best I can. So we get one half a pig, and these are the last couple cuts that I had before we get our next yearly pig in I think next week or so. So yeah, I've got these completely thawed out. They are patted them off dry. I'm going to go ahead and season them with some salt to begin with. Not super heavy, but liberally with some salt. I am then going to apply some dry rub, and no offense to anybody from any other region, I have close connections to both Kansas City and Texas barbecue. Both of them think that they're the best. Both of them think that the other one's wrong, and I'm here to tell you that both of them are right. So today, I'm actually doing some Kansas City style rub. I've got some Arthur Bryant's and some Gates. Thank you, Dave. So I'm going to do one of each, and at the end, we're going to be able to compare these. So we're going to go ahead and season this first one with this Arthur Bryant's, and I will get into a story about that gentleman later on. I do want to say I appreciate and love all types of barbecue from everywhere, and over time we're going to get into every style. I want to do some Memphis ribs. I want to do Carolina style. I want to do like everything and anything under the sun. It's just today I happen to have some really good rubs from Kansas City, and yeah, wanted to touch on a little Kansas City barbecue. So I'm going to go ahead and get these liberally coated in my dry rubs. I always like to rub barbecue at least the night before or day before. 24 hours is great to let them sit on the rub because it's really going to give the salt and the sugar time to penetrate the meat. That's going to give it a really nice smoke ring, and it's going to impart a lot better flavor than if you were just to season these and slap them right in your smoker. So once we get these really well rubbed, I'm going to find a spot in the fridge, and we're going to let them sit till tomorrow morning, where I'm going to fire up the smoker, and we'll make some barbecue. We have taken our meat out of the refrigerator. It's been seasoning overnight. I always like to give it one more sprinkle of seasoning, because you should keep in mind that when seasoning meat, and this applies to steaks, it applies to roasts, it applies to barbecue, you always want to season for volume, not season for surface area. A lot of people look at this and they sprinkle a little bit on the outside because they think that they're over seasoning, but they're probably not even close, because you really want that flavor and the salt and the sugar to penetrate the meat and give flavor throughout. So when you get a big chunk of it, it's all seasoned. So again, we're doing one with some Arthur Bryant's, and we're doing another piece of our boneless pork sirloin with Gates. Now that it's liberally coated, it's had time to set overnight, we're going to go ahead and put these on the fire. So there are a lot of different ways that you can set up a smoker to cook barbecue. I have a really basic, it's a Weber Little Smoky that has always served me well. There are different methods. You could have a large grill and build a fire on one side and smoke on the other side. There are also big old oil drum grills where you have a firebox on the side where the heat and the smoke flows through the chamber that you're cooking in and out the other side. This is a basic inline smoker. Um, that's what we're going to work with today. I have a blend of cherry wood and apple wood because we have a lot of cherry orchards and apple orchards up here in Montana. And when people trim in the spring, it's a really good time to score some free smoker wood. For our inline smoker, we're going to build a fire, get scalding hot coals here in the bottom. You can throw in another piece of wood here. We have the inline chamber that we're going to set right over the fire. It's also got a box so that throughout the course of cooking, you've got a little door here where you can feed and manage your fire because managing a fire is one of the most important aspects of cooking good barbecue. We have a moisture pan, which serves two purposes. We're going to fill this with some liquid, and it's going to cover the fire so that your meat is not getting any direct heat. The heat is going to flow around the sides of the moisture chamber, and that way you get smoking and low barbecue style cooking as opposed to grilling directly over a hot fire. I'm going to go ahead and set this guy in here. And I forgot to mention, the second purpose is also to keep some moisture inside the cooking chamber and monitor the temperature. It's going to keep a nice, 205 to maybe high end 250 is about all you want for cooking barbecue. For my liquid, I'm using about a pint of leftover beer mixed with a couple pints of water. I threw a couple bay leaves and some peppercorns in there just to give some aroma to the smoke and the moist air inside my smoking chamber. So I'm going to go ahead and pour that in. And you could use any flavor liquid that you want, depending on what you're smoking and what you're seasoning with. You could mix it with orange and lime juice and mint sprigs, or, use wine and, wine, peppercorns, whatever herbs you like, thyme, rosemary. That's just another way to play around and make whatever profile you really enjoy. So next, I'm going to put my clean grill grate right on the mounts over the water chamber. So that's all in place. I'm going to set my lid, which has a temperature gauge here. It's always, you can buy just a regular thermometer that you can set in there yourself, oven thermometers, or they make a lot of barbecue thermometers. Most smokers have a temperature gauge on them. It's just really nice to monitor that good barbecue range, because if you get the fire too hot, the meat's going to cook like a roast. It's going to seize up, and it's not going to slowly break down and be nice and tender, which is an aspect you look for in good barbecue. So I'm going to put the lid on, just let this come up to temperature, and then we're going to go ahead and put the meat in there and, wait for some delicious barbecue. So our fire is up to temp here. So just going to get it stirred around. Good job, baby girl. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the smoker here. That's going to snuff the open flame out a little bit. And that way we'll maintain just a nice, slow, even temperature. Got my barbecue gloves. Now, watch out, baby. Now here's our pork sirloin, one Arthur Bryant's, one Gates. Now it's time to close it up and let the smoke do its work. Well, we're gonna go ahead and check our meat. And a lot of people debate whether you should use mop or dry seasoning, and there's no right answer. It just depends on what you like. But go ahead and brush a little sauce on this Gates here and close her back up, and looks like this is about done. So it's been about 4.5 hours, maybe 5, tending the fire and making sure that our barbecue is well taken care of, and it seems to be nice and tender to the touch. So we're going to go ahead and pull it off here. Got one, or the Bryant's chunk, one Gates, and again, I'm not using a meat thermometer per se. I'm not going for anything exact. I'm just going off touch. These are tender, not quite falling apart, so they're not overcooked. Yeah. So we'll take them inside. We'll let them rest for maybe 30 minutes or so. We'll slice in, and we're going to have a little bit of barbecue. Right, so our barbecue's been resting for about 30 minutes after pulling it out, or pulling it off of the smoker. We're going to take it out the oven here. Got a couple delicious pieces of pork sirloin. I'm going to go ahead and be honest right now that I've actually never barbecued pork sirloin until today. I do trust my technique, and I do have a fair amount of experience in the field, but yeah, this particular cut I have never actually done before, although, yeah, I believe texturally we're looking for something like that. Very tender, got a nice smoke ring around the edge. I don't want it to be falling apart as you would with, if you did like a pork shoulder, something that's higher in connective tissue that you would shred up to make like pulled pork or whatnot. I think that texturally, with a sirloin like this, you're probably looking for something closer to brisket. You want to be able to slice it. You want to have a little bit of bite to it, but it should also be tender and delicious and have a nice, sticky, juicy rub on the side of it. So we've got a little bit of Gates, got a little bit of our Arthur Bryant. Then have some quick slaw that I made. It's just a basic sesame slaw, but which is definitely not Kansas City style traditional, but that's what I happen to have on hand. So that's what I'm making. Got slaw, some sweet and spicy quick pickles, sauce on the side, both Arthur Bryant's and Gates. So we are going to now sit down and have a barbecue supper. We'll see you next time on Leave No Taste, and always make the most of the food you make.